In a quiet moment between the ticking of the clock and the flicker of thought, I asked myself what would happen if I lived as Nietzsche would. Not in costume, nor in mimicry, but with soul laid bare and will sharpened like a blade. To live not kindly, nor safely, but truthfully, dangerously awake. To take the ancient hammer and strike it not at others, but at myself. Friedrich Nietzsche was not merely a philosopher. He was a lightning bolt hurled into the darkness, a destroyer of illusions, a friend to no comfort. He did not teach us how to live well, but how to live authentically, even if that life meant madness, solitude, and fire. I chose to follow 16 of his most dangerous and liberating rules for 30 days. What follows is not a guide, but a reckoning. Nietzsche once wrote, "Become who you are, do what only you can do." Not a call to self-improvement, but to self-realization. For 30 days I was forbidden from copying, comparing, or conforming. No borrowed thoughts, no filtered words, no second-hand values, just raw being. And in that rawness I felt fear, because to become who you are is to burn down who you never were. We spend so much of life being echoes, of family, of society, of old teachers and broken idols. But Nietzsche whispered, "Dare to be the original. Even if it costs you everything familiar, the secret of reaping the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment from life is to live dangerously." He declared, "Each day I did what frightened me, not recklessly, but consciously. Speaking truths, making decisions I delayed for years, walking into conflict rather than away from it. It was not the danger of cliffs or guns, but the more terrifying danger of change. I learned comfort is the enemy of transformation. Stability can become a prison, and the soul withers where nothing burns." Nietzsche detested herd morality. He called it a lie dressed in virtue, a veil over the weak man's envy. For 30 days, I stopped pretending to care about what society said was right. Instead, I asked, is this true? Is this mine? I stopped apologizing for my ambition. I stopped acting humble when I felt proud. I stopped calling cowardice compassion. This rule does not make you loved, it makes you free. And that is far rarer. At the core of Nietzsche's philosophy lies the will to power, not the desire to dominate others, but the desire to master oneself. Each morning, I asked, where am I weak? Where do I shrink? And then I leaned in. The will to power is not ego, it is discipline. It's the refusal to play small, to rise, even bloodied, not because someone told you to, but because your soul demands it. Nietzsche's most surprising truth was this: even in suffering, say yes. Even in loss, say yes. Even in absurdity, say yes. I stopped resisting what was painful. I stopped wishing for a better past. I stopped needing fairness. And in that radical acceptance, I found something stunning: joy that was not dependent on circumstance, but born from the marrow of being alive. Nietzsche wrote, "There are no facts, only interpretations. And many of those interpretations come from idols, gods, leaders, even dead philosophers like himself." So I asked, who have I let think for me? And I killed them. Not with hate, but with detachment. I unlearned. I questioned even the sacred, even Nietzsche himself. To follow him, you must eventually outgrow him. That too is part of his truth. Nietzsche warned, who cannot endure solitude will never be free. So I withdrew. From friends, from noise, from digital anesthesia. I walked in silence, I wrote with no audience. And I met a stranger within myself. At first solitude stings, then it sings. Only in aloneness can you hear your own voice, clearly enough to follow it. Nietzsche's laughter was not joy, it was rebellion. He said, man alone suffers so deeply that he had to invent laughter. So I laughed at my shame, at my losses, at the absurd theater of existence. It wasn't nihilism, it was transformation. Mocking what once broke you is how you become immune. This rule was brutal, but necessary. Nietzsche taught that pity is poison, especially when it comes from those who only pity to feel superior. So I stopped accepting pity, and more importantly, I stopped giving it where it coddled weakness instead of healing pain. Compassion, yes, but not condescension. Nietzsche differentiated between moral and noble. Morality is what the herd worships. Nobility is earned through inner conquest. Each decision I faced, I asked, is this action noble or merely socially approved? Being noble meant walking alone. It meant silence when I could have boasted. It meant risking misunderstanding. But nobility left me whole. Nietzsche said we must be value creators, not value followers. So I made a list of my own commandments, not inherited, not borrowed, forged through fire and thought. They weren't perfect, but they were mine. And living by them gave me something no external code ever could: integrity. Would you live this day again, and again, and again, for eternity? This is the eternal return, Nietzsche's metaphysical test of meaning. Each evening, I asked if I had to relive this day forever, would I be proud? Some days the answer shamed me. Others it exalted me. But every time it awakened me. Not a superman, but a higher man, one who transcends conventional limits. Nietzsche's Übermensch does not obey. He creates. He does not follow. He leads from within. So I acted every day as if I were the highest version of myself, not for applause, but because becoming demands action. Nietzsche once wrote, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." This rule taught me that suffering is not the end, but the seed of greatness. So I did not hide my wounds. I studied them. I honored them. Pain rightly understood refines the soul. This rule sounds cruel, but Nietzsche's contempt was not hatred. It was disappointment. The herd does not want truth. It wants comfort. The herd crucified Socrates and mocked the thinkers. So I stopped asking for their approval. Stopped defending myself. I lived as if they were watching and I no longer cared. Nietzsche believed the highest man is not the priest or king, but the artist. For 30 days, I created every day, not for money, not for fame, but because creation is sacred. To make beauty from pain is to declare, I am alive and I am not defeated. After 30 days, the world had not changed, but I had. I was more dangerous, more honest, less apologetic, and more alive. Nietzsche did not make me happy, but he made me free. And sometimes that is the harder and holier gift. This path is not for everyone. It is lonely. It is misunderstood. It demands your illusions as sacrifice. But if you feel something stirring in your chest, a wild, terrible hope, then perhaps the path is for you too. Nietzsche did not give us answers. He gave us tools, a hammer to destroy and a whisper to rebuild. Become who you are, even if no one understands, even if it costs you everything. That is the only life worth living. If this journey shook something within you, let it echo. Subscribe for more. Or better yet, go and live this truth.